Welcome back to Kin in Line. I make this part 123. I thought I'd just start by showing the newsroom on the Evening Post in the mid-1980s, soon after I started there. There are going to be drawings that I've done of some of my colleagues down the years. Not many of these shown here, but that was me with a little silly moustache tapping away on an ATEX computer, word processor really. Kathy Schnoll is the lady on the left with the long hair. I forget the girl in the, Jane Cunningham, sorry, that is her name. Kevin Udemans, and I forget the lady on the right here. But as you can see, this was a very antiquated system, but it was state of the art at the time. And I'd never worked on a word processor before. So, and here was a little copy and send, store and call. So every time you had to keep storing it to make sure you didn't lose what you'd written. And we didn't each have a separate terminal. Whichever one was available, you'd go to that from your actual desk. You can see empty desks in the background there. So I thought people would find this of interest. And here's just a little shot of yours truly in about 86 or 7, after I'd finally cut off that awful moustache at one of these terminals. And then just a quick little social one from the late 80s, I would say. Notice how I'm overdressed. Always tended to, sorry, there seems to be a light shining on this thing. I always tended to feel the cold. Well, whereas next door there, next to me, is someone who certainly didn't feel the cold. So we're having a braai. This was on this trip that I showed drawings of when we went on the Apple Express. So that's Mark Derry on the right. My memory hasn't completely gone. And we're drinking dumpies, which you don't seem to get anymore, beer in a dumpy-shaped bottle. We were braaiing out at somewhere, Potensi or somewhere, I think, where the Apple Express took a group of journalists and people, and it was actually non-racial. You can't see people of color here, but there were colleagues of mine who were black Africans. Then we get on to one of my former colleagues. This is Tanya Keeling. She was the news editor's secretary on the Herald when I moved there in 88. And love the way it changes color in the middle of. So she's taking a dictate here. You can see she's wearing headphones, and she would have been, yeah. And then I was surprised when while I was in the UK in 1990, probably just after I did this sketch, or maybe before, she married Patrick Cull, who was the political correspondent. This is him. He was a short guy with a big ego, but a prolific worker. I mean, there's no doubting that he did incredible amount of reporting compared to the rubbish that you get today from overpaid, inexpert, underread, inarticulate sort of excuses for journalists, most of them. So Cull was an English graduate, and, it showed in his writing. And this is just another of Tanya Keeling, who used to do her hair up somewhat outrageously, I guess. And so I probably exaggerated it a bit. Now we're going to just have a cross-section of little drawings. Here I've taken from my notebooks. When I discarded them, I would always find drawings that I'd done during the course of the lifespan of the book. And here we've got a sax player somewhere, which you've come to expect from me to draw. This was a guy who was news editor on the Herald for a while. Skuman, what is his first name? Lawrence Skuman. And yeah, often he used to sit with his finger in his mouth like that while he held the phone. This guy I cannot place, but interesting drawing all the same. And a very quick drawing of someone or other. As is this. Certainly had a nose on him, whoever he was. And this I recognize as Brian Voss Smith, I think he pronounced it. He was the director of the Midland Chamber of Industry. So Port Elizabeth had a Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Industry, and they later amalgamated to form I think it's Nelson Monday Business Chamber or something today. So in the late 80s, I was the municipal reporter on the Herald, having earlier done it briefly on the Post, although I was more just a general political writer for the Post. And this is one of the city councillors, whose name I now forget, unfortunately, National Party, but he obviously sat just in a nice spot for me to sketch him. As is this guy, Flip Potgieter, with an Afrikaans name like that, you'd think he would be a conservative Afrikaner, but he in fact was a very liberal lecturer at the university in mathematics, I think, and became a councillor for the Liberal Progressive or Democratic Party, PFP, Progressive Federal Party, which became the DA. But unfortunately, flipped his allegiance to the ANC at a time when you needed people of caliber in opposition to what everybody knew could have predicted would become a corrupt and incompetent ANC after 94. So this is one of the National Party councillors whose name I forget. I think he was a mayor. There's another mayor, ex-mayor. This was Graham Young, very old already at this point in the 80s. But he was a former mayor, and he had big ears, as happens to all of us when we get old. It's the only drawing I think I've got of Graham Young. This isn't a politician coming up, but just somebody somehow encountered somewhere along the way. But quite a nice drawing, I think. We spoke of Lawrence Skuman earlier, and this is an none too flattering drawing of a journalist. Often, I mean, they were great drinkers from this era. I don't think Lawrence was, but certainly Patrick Cole was somebody I could never keep up with. I tried it once and came second best very soon. I'm not sure where I drew this. young lady. This must have been, it's in the courts. I think this might have been when they sent me to sketch one of the accused who had